Hello, welcome to Butch's Building Blocks. I'm Butch. The year's over, and I looked through my cutoff bin to see what I had, and I found a nice chunk of hickory, block of mahogany that I've cut off, and then two nice slabs of maple. Thinking to myself, I said, what can I do with it? I'll make a cutting board. Just to add a little bit of color, I have a nice chunk of rosewood that I've been saving for something special. So, between the maple, mahogany, hickory, and this rosewood, we are going to make ourselves a beautiful cutting board with a bright diamond pattern in the center. Now that we've chosen our stock that we want to make our cutting board from, it's time to cut them to length. This piece of rosewood is approximately 17 7/8 inches long. So I'm going to cut my other mahogany, maple, and hickory pieces to that same length, and then I'm going to head over to my thickness planer and plane it down to the same size, which is 1 5/8 inches. That should be enough to give us a sizable cutting board that will last someone for a long time. Here we are at the planing stage for our cutting board. As you can see, I've given dimensions, 3 inches, quarter, 2 inches, quarter. We have our triangles here. We have 4 separate triangles. These are all 90 degrees with a 45-degree angle, so they should be fairly easy to cut. And they will be 1 5/8 inch on each of these 2 sides. And then our pattern will repeat itself on the second half. All of my 1/4 inch strips here will be made out of rosewood. The 2 and 3 inch strips will be made out of maple. And my triangles I will have made out of hickory and mahogany. These two will be hickory, the lighter color, and then mahogany being the darker contrast. Let's head out to my shop and we will start to cut our wood. Here's our 45-degree angle cuts. These are without a doubt the most difficult cut that you're going to make. You need to be sure that your angle is correct. Check it with a 45-degree angle or some other device to make sure that that angle is very good. After you've taken off the first 45-degree angle, the second one is actually fairly simple because it's just a vertical cut. Okay, now for the expensive cut. Here's my rosewood. Gosh, it's beautiful, beautiful wood. I put on a thin kerf saw blade so that I don't use any more material than necessary. So let's go ahead and cut off my 1/4 inch slabs. So here are all of our pieces assembled. Here's our 3 inches maple, 1/4 inch rosewood, 2 inch piece of maple, 1/4 inch rosewood. We have our mahogany triangle and our hickory triangle, and then the pattern's repeated. Now all I have to do is glue this all up, and then we'll come back out and cut it into lengths so that we can alternate the pieces. Gluing up angles of any kind is difficult. 45-degree angles have a tendency to slip along this hypotenuse plane. So I glued these up separately from the rest of the board to begin with. I made myself a little jig that my pieces sit down into. I glued them up and then clamped them down. These two pieces here kept the boards from sliding. The pressure on the top kept them together, and as you can see, the glue joint came out very good. I have yet to find a superior way of keeping glue off my clamps, but by putting blue painter's tape over them seems to do a pretty good job. I planed it down on my surface plane and then sanded out any planer marks, and now we're ready to rip these into strips so that we can then match them up. Now at this point in time, you need to do some calculations. You need to figure out how long your board is and divide it by the number of cuts you want. And then you have to add in the width of your saw blade cut. Because remember, in this case, we want to end up forming diamond patterns. So I need to have two pieces to go with each other. So if my cut ends up with 13 or 15 pieces, odd number, I'm going to throw one away. So in order to maximize your board, you need to do some calculation. There is the pattern that we were looking for. Beautiful diamonds all aligned in the middle with some nice little dark accent marks going across. Couldn't have asked for a better pattern to come up. Your screw threads should be opposite of each other so that your compression is equal. And now for the glue. Okay, make sure you get a good glue squeeze out, but you don't want to compress them so tight that you squeeze all the glue out, then you have no holding power. Save yourself some time at this point. Get yourself an old rag, clean off the glue. Much easier to get it off when it's wet than after it's dried and cured. And you certainly don't want to be running glue through your sanding drums or discs or even your planers. So do a good job and get it all off. Well, here we are at the planing stage. This is the flattest side that I have, so I'll put that down and run through. This pine on both sides will protect my end grain and keep it from splitting. As you can see, that end grain was perfectly protected by that sacrificial piece of pine. So there you go. Now you can plane your end grains down, not worry about them splitting off. I'm going to continue finishing this up, but for now, we'll let you go until I'm done. Okay, now that we've planed it down on the planer, you can see that both of those ends are fine, but you can see where the sacrificial pine has been busted off by the planer blades, which is exactly what we want. Now, it's time to start at 80 grit and work my way up to 320. I've sanded this down to 120 grit, and now I'm going to cut off the sacrificial pine on both sides before I finish sanding and then go to my routering. Here's our cutting board, looking really good. I put a radius on the edges here just to smooth it out a little bit, make it a little more sleek looking. And now I'm going to use my router to put a 1/4 inch round over all the way around it. And use your 1/4 inch bit or whatever size bit you decide for your round over. Please check it out on a piece of scrap wood just to see how deep you want it, or if you just want it as a regular round over. There it is. Looks pretty darn nice. I've adjusted this saw blade to a 40-degree angle, and I'm going to slice a 40-degree piece off of here as a handhold. And here we have it, a nice place to cut and hold your hands. We'll also cut another one on this side to match. Okay, here are our two cuts. There's the lengthwise cut. Gives us a nice looking corner here, very different from most. And the cut goes down there. This cut is 1/2 the thickness of this board. You can see the line there. That gives you a nice finger hold, and it looks really sharp. And as you can see, the grain pattern in this is already spectacular. So adding mineral oil to it is just going to make it jump out and even look better. So here we go. What an excellent cutting board. All I need to do is apply a couple more coats on all sides and it will be ready. Here we are at the end of our cutting board project, and it has turned out exquisitely. We finished this board with beeswax and mineral oil to give it a nice luster and a buttery smooth finish. As you can see, the diamond pattern has turned out perfectly. This is a very good board. It's an excellent looking piece for anyone. I hope I've given you enough information so that you too can make a board like this. If you'd just like to purchase one, go to butchesbuildingblocks.com and you can order a board like this or any other type of board that you may want.